Practice day 7, pads were on again. What's up, guys? The second straight padded practice is in the books, and I have a big update covering the trenches and our rookie quarterback's progress. Let's go ahead and get right into it. The Bears have now wrapped up 7 training camp practices. Just over a week of camp is in the books, and we are just 5 days away from preseason football. Devin Hester getting his gold jacket and a new era of Bears football starting this Thursday. I really hope that Caleb does get a couple of reps. Eberflus was asked about that today, and he said they will announce that decision on Tuesday. So we won't know if Caleb and the starters are going to play until just over 48 hours before the game. If there's an announcement from the Texans before that, I kind of expect the Bears to do the same thing. So if CJ Stroud is going to play, maybe Caleb will. If he's not, maybe he won't. Stay tuned for more on that. As far as practice goes, the defense definitely won the day, and the offensive line had even more issues with false start. But before I get into that, let's quickly address the injury updates. Kyler Gordon and Jacob Martin were seen at practice today, but neither of them participated. Hopefully, we can get both of those guys back on the field soon. Eberflus said they are both day to day. And then Noah Sewell was back at practice after missing the first week of camp, but Nasimba Webster remains out. And then we get to the story of the day. Caleb Williams struggles. A lot of fans seem to expect that Caleb can get through an entire training camp without making a single mistake. It's a bit ridiculous. I laughed the other day when media guys were saying that Caleb had a bad day or that he struggled when he didn't even throw a single interception in practice. So I can't even imagine what they will say today. Today was an up and down practice for Caleb Williams, where the offensive line was the biggest issue for me, but Caleb did throw back-to-back interceptions today, both over the middle of the field. One was picked off by safety Adrian Colbert, and the other by undrafted rookie Reddy Stewart. It looked to me like Caleb was taking more risks today and testing some tight window throws. This is something you want your quarterback to do in camp. Also, with a rookie quarterback, you want to see how they respond to adversity, how he bounces back after throwing those interceptions, and Caleb threw a few of his best passes of the day after tossing those 2 INTs. But overall, the offense definitely struggled today. 2 interceptions from Caleb Williams, some stalled drives, and a ton of false starts. And all that adds up to the defense definitely winning the day today. And it was Caleb's worst practice of camp. But there are still a ton of reasons to be excited. We talked about the bad. Now let's go ahead and talk about the good, because Caleb always delivers highlight level plays, even in his worst practice of camp. Caleb and Rome Odunze had multiple big connections today, including one catch where Rome bodied a defender and came down with a highlight reel grab, another play where he shrugged off a defender and got wide open for a TD as well. I love the chemistry between these two, and you see it continuing to grow every single day. Meanwhile, DJ Moore and Keenan Allen continue to have solid camps, but both guys did get some rest during the team periods, which is an important thing to note here. At one point, Caleb got pressure up the middle, and he rolled out of the pocket and threw a dime to tight end Gerald Everett. TJ Edwards was the guy blitzing untouched up the middle, but Caleb avoided the pressure, got out of the pocket, and threw a laser. One of the best passes of the day. Fans loved it, and it got the crowd going. When the 2-minute drills came up, the offense did not score, but it is important to note that Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Braxton Jones, and Nate Davis were all setting out during that portion. So let's hold off on any panic about the offense today. There were 4 starters not in there when that happened. Overall, I continue seeing progress from Caleb Williams. Do not let people overreact from one camp practice. But Tyson Bagent bounced back with a big day today, including probably the play of the day, throwing a deep touchdown pass to Velus Jones Jr. He beat Jalen Jones on the play and made a sliding catch in the end zone. Bagent operated the offense smoothly most of the day, and he also threw another deep touchdown to Dante Pettis. It does seem like Bagent is stronger this year. To me, he is locked in as our quarterback too, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But now I want to get into what really matters, the trenches. The pads are on, and this is when it's time to pay attention to the trenches. We have a lot to talk about here. Let's go ahead and get into it. First, the center update. Today was Ryan Bates' day at center, but something happened today which goes hand in hand with why I think Coleman Shelton will win the job. I've talked about it all offseason since we signed him, but Ryan Bates has always been a better guard to me. So that means if something happens to Nate Davis or Tevin Jenkins, Bates is going to shift over to play guard anyway, which means Coleman Shelton is going to have to be the starting center one way or another. So my main point with this is with Nate Davis's uncertainty and Tevin Jenkins' injury history, doesn't it make more sense to have Coleman Shelton as the starting center? Think about it. If Ryan Bates is the starter, that means if something happens to Nate Davis or Tev, you have to move two guys to fix one spot. Why do you want to move two guys around if you lose one starter? That means if we lost a guard, say Nate Davis went down, you then have to move Ryan Bates from center to guard and then insert Coleman Shelton into the lineup. That's moving two guys to fix one position. And to me, that just creates more problems and less continuity. That is one of the main reasons that, other than experience, I believed Coleman Shelton would end up being the starter. You don't want to move two guys to fix one spot, then you're just moving things around for no reason. We need stability at the center position, especially with a rookie quarterback. But let me be clear, I do like what the Bears are doing so far. I do think it's important that Caleb has chemistry with both Coleman Shelton and Ryan Bates. I don't want him having to start over with a brand new center if our starter did go down. So I don't mind the early rotation in camp. I think it's good for both players and Caleb Williams, but I think at some point over the next couple of weeks, Coleman Shelton needs to be starting and getting all of the first team reps. Having stability there is going to be important as we head into the season. And honestly, something happening to Nate Davis or him struggling kind of seems inevitable right now. I'm about as optimistic of a fan as there is, but Nate Davis has shown us basically nothing in the last 16 months, and he seems destined to be off this roster next year. I liked the signing last year. His Tennessee tape continues to give me hope that he can bounce back this year. And he has had a decent first week of practice, but he got dominated by Gervon Dexter yesterday, and then he had to leave practice early today, and he's now considered day-to-day. So when Monday's practice gets here, if Nate Davis isn't ready, that means Coleman Shelton would probably be the starting center, and Ryan Bates would be the right guard, just like they were today after Nate went down. So to me, the writing is already on the wall there. Everyone in the media still seems to think it's Bates' job to lose. I think Coleman Shelton should be the starting center. No inside sources or anything. But as far as the rest of the offensive line goes, Braxton Jones was back at it today, getting most of the first team reps and looking like he's in great shape. He held his own against DeMarcus Walker most of the day, and he seems stronger than he did at any point in the last two seasons. I'm excited to see how Braxton anchors this year. He's had 2 full years in the Bears strength and conditioning program now, and it's a big year for our left tackle. Tevin Jenkins looked like our best offensive lineman today. This is a guy who loves it when pads comes on. He absolutely bullied defensive tackle Michael Dwumfor on a rep, and then he also dominated Zach Pickens on a rep today as well. Tev is having a great camp. He just needs to stay healthy. And then I mentioned Nate Davis already. He missed time today, something that none of us wanted to see. But this is a make or break year for Nate Davis and the Bears. After this year, he has no guaranteed money left on his deal. So if he doesn't play up to expectations, he's probably going to be a cap casualty next offseason. But I also have to mention Bill Murray. That's right, Bill Murray, who is looking to be our second string guard right now. He filled in briefly yesterday when Tev left the field. Well, today he had his best rep of training camp, pancaking Andrew Billings. That's right, big defensive tackle Andrew Billings got put on the ground by none other than Bill Murray. Now, this is not Ghostbusters Bill Murray, but he does share the same name. But he's a 6'4", 300-plus-pound guard who went to college at William and Mary. He's a former Patriot who Bill Belichick said this about. Bill Murray's a smart kid. Nobody works harder than Bill Murray. He's an all-day, everyday worker. So based on Belichick's comments, he's at least a hard worker, a guy who's going to practice hard every day, and we know Eberflus loves that. He's a former New England Patriot who played 58 snaps at right guard and right tackle in 2022, and then he signed on to the Bears practice squad last year. I'm not sure what's going on the depth chart, but Bill Murray seems to be a sleeper candidate to make the 53-man roster, and according to the first week of camp, he seems to be ahead of Jatiri Carter. I'm still scratching my head on that one, but we'll have to continue monitoring that throughout camp. But the worst thing from the O-line has been the false starts. They have been terrible for 3 straight practices now, having multiple penalties every single day. That is something that needs to be cleaned up. I want to see the starting 5 get more reps together in the preseason and more time with Caleb Williams. Rotating our centers is not really helping that, and as soon as we can get stability there, I believe that will help. But right now, as I said here today, the offensive line is easily my biggest worry for the 2024 season. But onto the defensive line, where Gervon Dexter's breakout continues. If he can continue firing off the ball like this and exploding into the backfield, he is going to be a force in this league. Dexter had another big day today. He continues exploding off the line of scrimmage, and he looks like our second best defensive lineman. Him and Montez Sweat are always around each other at practice. Speaking of Montez Sweat, though, he continues to look like an all-pro talent. He had multiple sacks today, and he just remains unblockable early in camp, even with pads on. However, Sweat did get in trouble today. He hit Caleb Williams in a drill, and Eberflus would end up throwing him out of the drill. He mentioned it in the press conference, and he said Sweat has to be better. He's an elite athlete, but he can definitely stop himself. It's not a big deal, but Flus did seem to take this seriously. Nobody wants our rookie quarterback getting hurt in practice. Andrew Billings had a hand in a couple of those false starts today. He's a veteran who's able to get in the head of the offensive line. A great test early in camp. He's one of the more underrated players on this roster. But a guy who's really stood out has been Austin Booker. The rookie's athleticism has been on full display the last 2 days. His burst off the line of scrimmage and his spin move are both ridiculous. His frame is legit too. He looks like an NFL defensive end, but unfortunately he is still a bit raw, and he needs to continue refining his technique going forward, and he has to get better at staying on his feet. His potential is through the roof, but he does still need some work. Booker has a ton of talent, and he looks like he's going to be an impact pass rusher in the future. Montez Sweat actually said that Booker is ahead of where he was as a rookie, if that tells you anything. DeMarcus Walker's also having a pretty good camp, but he did get into a scuffle with Gerald Everett today. Caleb Williams would push Walker away. I don't know if I want to see our rookie QB doing that, but it's good to see him having his teammates back. Rookie corner Reddy Stewart is a ball hawk, and he's a player I liked when we signed him as a UDFA. He intercepted Caleb Williams today, and he's had a pretty good first week of camp. But our corner room is ridiculously deep, though, so his odds of making this roster are stacked against him. Maybe a practice squad stash for a year, unless he can really break out. Overall, though, the defense did win the day. The Bears are off practice tomorrow, and then we have 2 more padded practices on Monday and Tuesday. I'm looking forward for Caleb Williams and the offense to bounce back. I can't wait, guys. I appreciate everybody who watches. Please remember to hit that like button for me. Stay tuned, and until next time, bear down.